We met in closed session. We have a quorum, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Pledge of call of order, pledge please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome back. We're going to start with student perspectives.
I'm here to talk on behalf of Scott Kasich tonight. As you know, every month we like to talk as a district about the programs that we offer in our buildings. We're very proud of the different things that we offer to students, and we strive to give a unique club or opportunity for students in many different ways. At North this month we have 2 students here to talk about our investment club. This club was an emerging club last year, and this is the first year that we actually have it as an official club in our building. Michael Rivera and Zachary Yan are going to talk about that more now.
Good evening to you. My name is Zachary Yan, and I'm a senior at Downers Grove North High School.
And I'm Michael Rivera, and I'm also a senior at Downers Grove North High School.
Just to give you a quick background and context on the club, last year was the first year of the club, somewhat of a trial year, one could say. And we started off with 20 or so members that have grown into about 40 or so members on average per meeting. And the goal of the club initially was just to address our passions of investing in business. And I think over time we've definitely satisfied that.
And one of the big ways we encompass this is through a game on the website marketwatch.com. Basically what we've set up, and this started in the last year as in the trial period, is students sign up on this website. They get $100,000 to invest in any stock that's on the actual live market right now, and they do as they please with it. There are prizes for those who win, the top 3 people. And then we've set up a minor game which gives them $1,000, which makes it a lot more challenging and a lot more applicable to high schoolers who aren't going to have $100,000 to invest, might only have $500 to $1,000. It requires them to think more about what's going on and to really look at what they're doing in the first place. And the way that we get interest in the club mostly is that in the inaugural meeting this year, we had about 45 people or so. And what we did is we sent out a survey, and the survey said, what do you want to know about investing? We picked the top 4 to 5 of those things, what people want to know about investing, what students want to learn, and then as the students and our 2 sponsors, we make a plan for the next 5 meetings of our year, and we build on that. So, for example, the last meeting, we watched a video on Warren Buffett and his managing principles, how he invests, and then each of us, Zach, myself, and our 2 teacher sponsors, do individual lessons to the whole group on breaking down one of those things. Last meeting's component was how to choose a stock, and so we had everyone work in small groups. They kind of talked about how they choose stocks. We wrote it on the board, and then we went into the lesson mode where we talked about that, how they choose stocks, etc., and broke it down for everyone. The whole point of this is really a learning experience. We want everyone to be passionate about it, and thus far we do have that passion and interest for everyone.
Any questions?
I do. What's the stock tip? You got one?
I'm trying to get him to manage my portfolio. I met him in the hallway.
Do your research, do your homework.
And how did the students take the first 3 weeks of October with the dip?
Not too well. I can tell you we only had a
About a
few or so
15% drop.
portfolios in the positive region, so not too
Came
well.
back. So
Yeah,
if you
they
stayed
did.
in, it came back.
And we can tell who's actually really invested, no pun intended, in the game because they come to us or they say in the meeting, hey, why did this happen? I looked here, I went here, I looked at the the charts, I tried to predict this, and it didn't work out. So we know from that the students are really getting
They're really
involved in
paying
this. It's not
attention.
just let me buy Berkshire Hathaway B,
Right.
and then let's hope it shoots up.
Right.
People are really interested in going in this, and they're going in interesting directions with their portfolios and diversifying it and things like that.
Do you keep track on a weekly basis or monthly?
It's by meeting, which is usually monthly.
Monthly, yeah.
Monthly? What's the lead? Well, like, what's the percent that somebody's up right now, the leader? Or is it actually down? They should be up.
At one point, someone was up about 16% in the lead, and then with that dip, someone who was
Right.
only up, 2% was in the lead. So it really depends.
Yeah,
Came
like
back
the
this
first week,
week.
someone up 30% because I think they invested in gold right off the bat. Jump, sold
Yeah.
everything, and they've been sitting on $130,000.
That's okay.
So things like that happen, but for the most part, people are actually expanding their
great.
portfolios.
Do you have guest speakers too, or you just go primarily on the research you do?
We've pondered on such things like that. My dad has a couple connections with Merrill Lynch and things like that. So potentially we may bring in someone like that to provide some insight. Yeah.
I just was curious.
And we do have our sponsors talk about their real world
Sure.
investing practices and things like that. So it's not just, they have to take the word of two 17-year-olds. But,
Who are independently wealthy as we speak, I'm sure.
On paper.
So do either of you intend to go into business?
Yeah.
Well, personally, yeah, I would definitely like to do something like that in the future. I know so far I've gotten accepted at Kelly School of Business in Indiana, so that could be a potential possibility.
Good.
And my plan is to undergraduate, major in something else, and then end up at either business school or law school, or maybe both if a program allows it.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Good stuff.
Moving on to PBI's highlights.
I can start out, yeah. Yeah, we're excited today. We have our internal coaches here to share some highlights. If you recall back in February, we kind of presented some data about the Positively North and Mustang Way. So today we're kind of excited about bringing together just some highlights so you can see all the hard work that our team and schools are doing. So I just want to say from my perspective, I'm very proud of the work that the four that are going to present today. We also have Lucia and Kristen here that are our administrator liaisons at each building. So I will go ahead and introduce Kim and Dale and Mary Beth and Janet. No, you could just talk. No, you're okay. Just, we're pretty loud, I think.
Probably use the mic to
For video, you should.
There's audio, video, I think.
And you could go.
Thank you so much for letting us come tonight and talk a little bit to you about what we consider a very fantastic program at both of our high schools. My name is Dale Pecoric, and I work at South High School in the Special Services Department. And 5 years ago, Mary Beth Scuglin and I were asked to head up this new way of thinking and new way of doing in our district. And we were both very excited to take on the challenge and the opportunity of what we now call Positively North and Mustang Way. And so we've been implementing for about 4 years now. We've seen some really positive shifts in the way that our students and our staff work together. And for that, we're really excited to continue working with this program and continue growing it. So I guess what I'd like to tell you about Positively North and Mustang Way is that all staff and students are directly involved in this program. All staff, from custodial staff to teaching staff to clerical staff, all play an important part in making sure that the tenets that we believe in, to be respectful, responsible, and engaged, are followed and modeled and expected in our buildings. And I think that early on, you would hear students probably saying in jest, like, oh, Mustang Way, Positively North, comments like that. But now truly, I do think it's part of our culture. And you will hear often students saying to other students, well, that wasn't very respectful, or you need to be more engaged, kind of the things that we've been asking them to think about that will make them better learners, better students, better people as they become adults. And so we're really happy that we have so many of our staff involved. We also have a universal team that works at both of our schools, and that's comprised of a member from each department those people then report back to their departments and share information about the program or things that are happening that month, and help spread the word of the things that we're trying to improve upon or get out there to our students and our staff. As I said before, I'm one of 2 internal coaches at South. My counterpart is Kim Pakowski, and then at North it's Mary Beth Skuglin and Janet Emond. And there we go. Okay, I'm going to pass the mic now to Janet, and she'll talk about our recognition program.
So for the first couple of years of the program, we were doing at Downers South, they had stamps where if you were recognizing respectful, responsible, engaged behavior, they'd get a stamp. And at North, we had purple tickets. And as we worked through this program for the last few years, it's now evolved into this new recognition program. The feedback is a little bit more personal, it's more immediate, and it involves either a pencil or a cookie with a certificate. As you see, we've taken the opportunity to thank you for your time and your volunteer work as board members. So every week, teachers, all staff, support staff, custodians, everybody in our school community has an opportunity to nominate a student or students. And you write a personal message, and it's delivered by a school administrator, and that includes school principals, associate principals, and our deans, to those students in their second period class. And so for our deans, they couldn't be more excited about the opportunity to be out engaging with students in a positive way. And so they're not the bad guys all the time. For our administrators, likewise, it gets them out of their office and interacting in a positive way with the students. And if you could see the expressions on students' faces when they're delivered this note in class, they stand straight, they're proud, they're excited, some are shocked, and it's not about the cookie or the pencil. While it's nice to take something away, it's really about the message in their certificate. And if you want to go to the next slide, we have had over 1,000 students recognized so far by over 300 staff members between our 2 schools. This is a partnership, if you saw on the last slide, with our transition team. And so they have been wonderful in helping organize the cookies like you see, and they deliver them to school. The students are excited to be part of the process in delivering them. Our support staff in the front office is always excited to see them and their warm expressions when they come to our buildings. So we think that this is a great partnership with them. We love the numbers and the fact that we have people in both buildings. Keith Dvorkin did a wonderful job at North working with Ed at South to even work to try and recognize as many students as possible. What that means is you can check by ID number. Did Sally already get one? And you might find Sally has received 2 recognitions. So maybe as I'm looking at my class list, maybe I don't recognize Sally this time. Is there someone else who's done something special that I might take the opportunity to recognize? So that's why you can see over 1,000 different students in our 2 campuses have already been recognized, and we're about 4 weeks into the program. And if you want to go to the next slide, I think the best example of if this is working, if it's meaningful, is the parent feedback. It's the student feedback. I've had students come up to me after class, thank you so much for nominating me. I can't believe you nominated me. And to them, they might not have seemed special, but to us as teachers and what we do, those little things matter. And so we're really trying to go out of our way to find significant, respectful, responsible, and engaged behaviors that we can identify with students. This parent took the time to write a letter to the principal, thanking them for the note that came home. It's a junior student, so the student is in regular ed classes and maybe just kind of goes through the motions and does good. He's a BA student and, doesn't necessarily get this personal recognition all the time. I think the best part for me is this award is attached to our fridge and we see it every day. We're never too old. I have a high school junior myself, and you're never too old to get a nice thank you, and that was special that you did that. And so I think we need to remember that sometimes, that even us in our professional lives, sometimes it's nice to just be recognized and thanked. So I think that's what we're trying to model with our students, and I hope you appreciate your thank you for today.
We do.
We'd like to move on and talk about some other things in our 2 buildings and some of the other great parts of our program. So my partner from North, Mary Beth, is going to take over.
We're going to tag team from this point on. So one of the other major components of our program are the monthly lessons. We know that academics being taught in school are obviously key, but social emotional as well. And so we need to teach students, even high school students, how to handle different situations, how to, work in a building as large as both of our schools. So we have monthly lessons, and these are just some of the many different lessons that we've covered over the last 4 years that we've been implementing PBIS. Some of them are very simple, very specific to our school, how to use technology in our building, and some are much larger, like bullying and cyberbullying. So.
One of the partnerships that we're very proud of at North High School is our Positively North Stars. We used to call them the Link Leaders, but at North we have Positively North Star. They are juniors and seniors who are cooperating with the freshmen and working with them to help welcome them to the school. And the pictures that you see here is the opening day where we have a big rally for the incoming freshmen the week before school starts. And then our Positively North Stars are trained by their sponsors once a month to go into the classrooms on those monthly lessons that we're talking about, and they are the voice that's speaking for our program. And they go into the freshman and some of the sophomore classes and facilitate the lesson alongside with the teachers.
We have a similar program at South. We aren't working with an existing leadership program, but instead asked for the different sponsors of the organizations to recommend students to our Mustang Way leaders. And so we have a smaller group of leaders that go into all freshman classes to work with the teachers and assist with the lessons and lead the students through the monthly lessons.
We're also very proud that we've initiated some student celebrations. Each semester, we have an indoor and an outdoor celebration. In the spring, we have a celebration outside, as you can see, and the students, when they're opposite lunch resource, are able to connect with each other in just kind of a fun way, just in celebration of all the positive things they have done. We have freeze pops, basketball, hoops, we're just kind of hanging out, bags games, and then in the winter, we have a celebration indoors in our field house, and pretty much the same. Little music playing, kids just get a chance to spend a half hour just kind of hanging out, because they have very tight schedules and they just like to celebrate each other and have some fun.
You'll see pictures of a similar celebration that we do at South in our spring. One of the components that we've really tried to reinforce is that the all-school celebrations are for all students, no matter what type of a year a student might be having, whether they're struggling or having a great year, that there are times where we need to come together as an entire student body. And so that's what those major celebrations are for, to really, again, reinforce the idea that just a little downtime, time with friends. As Mary Beth was saying, students' schedules are so busy, and they often tell us they just wish they had a little bit more time, and these celebrations allow for that.
We instituted last year an activities and athletics fair at North High School. And this is an opportunity, and if you can kind of see the background of the picture, we have students on both sides of the table. We have students talking to students. This isn't the time for the club sponsors to recruit. This is time for students to talk to other students about the activities, clubs, organizations, and sports that we have at the school. It's very popular. Again, we did this one day in September in the opposite lunch period. And we set up just minimal information on tables in one area of the building. And students were able to come and just get to meet and greet some of the other students that are already involved. And we have seen an increase. In fact, several clubs and organizations have contacted us and said directly after that event, their membership went up greatly. So they appreciate that.
Another component of the program is that this is about students. It's for the students. And so every year we survey the students on different elements of the program. That's how the acknowledgement system changed, because we knew that the stamping and the tickets weren't working as well as we'd hoped they would. And so we've really changed things in this program based on what the students' feedback, has been. The one thing that has never changed has been this question, which is, do the students think it's important to be recognized for good behaviors by staff? And every year consistently, they say, absolutely. This is something that they appreciate and I think is an important part of being a student in a school. So.
Anybody like dogs? One of the members of our Universal team, remember that's the team of teachers where we have one from each department, did some research and found that therapy dogs is a great way for students to relax during semester exams. So we have found positive, get it, pause, positive therapy dogs at our school, and we bring them in during exam time. So the students, there's a 15-minute passing period between exams, so we bring them in 2 of the days of exams. Between the passing periods and then the middle period, if students don't have an exam, they can come in and just relax. And it's just really fun for us to see. It was hundreds of students that came to visit these dogs. And they were just, you could just see like the tension just roll right off their shoulders because they would just come and pet these dogs. And then they would just kind of leave all relaxed and then move on to their next final. So we were very excited to partner with this organization.
And then one final piece of information. Both schools over the years, PBIS is part of a national and an international program. And so both of our lessons and videos have been recognized over the course of the years for the messages that they've sent. We have videos that have been created by staff members. We have videos that have been created by students. And generally, they're just a great addition to this program. And so we've really received some of that recognition outside of just the feedback the students have given us, but in the larger PBIS community for the work that's being done.
I have one.
Yeah.
If it's slide 13. Can you bring that back up? That one right there, you go, right there. Yeah, so the one thing about this that I noticed in looking at this ahead of time is that it is overwhelmingly agree and strongly agree, but I noticed that there's a trend from 9th grade to 12th grade for students who disagree. The number grows a little bit. So what do you attribute that to?
We've seen that consistently throughout all the years of implementation, that this is a program that is very successful with the 9th and 10th graders. And then as they get older, we think partially it's because they are more intrinsically motivated versus extrinsically. So they just are becoming adults, and they're recognizing that even though I would say even adults like to be recognized for positive behavior, they don't feel like it's as necessary because they're growing up and they know what they need to do to be a part of this larger community. I think there is also just, they're seniors, and so they're starting to kind of break from the school and kind of adapt to what the future is going to be. And so they, just kind of recognize that maybe they don't need what, those little things that we're trying to offer them.
So, taking that into consideration, would you see going forward maybe a little bit more emphasis on knowing that the 9th and the 10th graders are the ones that seem to need this more, that there might be more, maybe things that are focused more towards them?
Well,
I mean, is that?
I do also think that because we've now evolved and we changed our recognition program, I think you might see that reflected over the next few years.
Okay.
I do believe that the acknowledgements are much more meaningful to them. I teach almost all upperclassmen, and they are not too cool to get those certificates.
They still love
I teach
A junior
AP
too,
and
yes.
regular level, and so I can tell you from anecdotally from my experience that it's much more meaningful than a stamp or a purple ticket. So I think that we might be addressing that with this new recognition program.
Okay.
So I'm not ready to kind of give up on those upperclassmen.
Oh, don't give up. I mean, they still, overwhelmingly strongly agree. I would just, I'm looking for something. I mean, everything is so awesome, and I mean, it's
This
a
particular
wonderful report.
class was our first class that didn't come in as freshmen. So this is our 4th year of the program.
Right.
So our current seniors came in with Positively North and Mustang Way as
Right.
freshmen. This outgoing class did not. So it'll be interesting to see
Oh, yeah.
where our seniors fall, because they
Right.
kind of, at first, we were kind of waiting to push them along because they were a little too cool
Absolutely.
for,
Yes.
like, this is babyish. They handed out stickers in kindergarten, so they gave us a little bit of pushback that, the senior
Got
class
it.
that were. Yeah, I'm not making excuses for that, but we definitely have that in mind, and that's why
Yeah.
our program is transitioning into a different approach for acknowledgments. And we still try to tailor our lessons to all grades. And at North, where we have our freshman leaders, they kind of tailor their discussion to freshmen, and then we count on the teachers
to tailor the discussion to the upperclassmen. So the teachers are the ones that know the students the best. So they might approach, we give a general outline to the teachers of each lesson, but they would really tailor it a little differently if you had an AP class full of seniors versus maybe a lower level freshman class.
Okay.
I like the therapy dog.
That's
I
really,
really think
that's
that's
a
great. And
neat
I
idea.
wish there was a way to tell whether the students really did better in their testing after they petted the dogs and had that
Couldn't hurt.
relax.
Right.
You know, I just think that's a great idea. And
We're definitely bringing them back again this semester. This response, we had it 2 days, and after the first day, by the second day, I mean, it was standing room only. There was a line. We had to kind of shuttle them in and out. Okay, you get that dog. You get, that's a great problem to have.
oh yeah, absolutely. I just think that's just.
We've had a
fabulous.
meeting or two. We probably could have used.
Yeah.
Julie.
About the classes, I may have missed it in your presentation, how often are they presented to the classes?
Once a month.
The lessons, right.
Yeah, the lessons go once a month.
Okay.
They're usually designated on a Tuesday, and we have a little bit of an altered schedule, so at our school, first period runs a
Yes.
little bit longer.
Right.
And you guys do
We
similar?
have it at the beginning of second period.
Yeah.
So each class is only cut by 2 minutes so that we can accommodate like a 20-minute little lesson.
Oh, okay.
So
Good.
it's
So
not a lot of instructional, and we cut out announcements that day, so we just kind of move right into
It's
that.
often enough that it has an impact.
Yeah, and then we try to do booster lessons throughout the year through either announcements or posters, things that we want students to be reminded of as they move forward, so they don't forget the lesson, because it is only once a month. But we felt that at this age, many of them only need those quick reminders to help reframe their thinking, if they need to.
And we're trying to think ahead. In fact, Janet and I were just talking before the meeting about what we're doing in February and how we can tie that into March and April. So we really try to roll all the lessons together for that being respectful, responsible, engaged, and good citizenship.
Well, I love the energy from leadership here. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Really
for the
appreciate the
opportunity.
time.
Oh, this is great. I love my little card.
Is it Cardi?
Okay, thank you.
Tough one to follow.
It is a tough one to follow, but we'll persevere. So tonight, I have our AVID coordinators from both North and South, Jenny Wolf from South High and Brittany Mitchell from North High, who will be joining me in this presentation and sharing information about AVID. AVID is a program we've had here in District 99. This is our second year, although we've been involved with AVID for 3 years because we did a planning year the first year. So AVID is a college readiness system. It's basically to prepare students for college, to give them the skills that they need to be successful beyond high school, and not just for college, in other words, getting into a university, but those skills to persevere and to be successful in college. AVID is a program, it's actually an international program. AVID is in 45 states and 16 territories, so it's a worldwide program. It is a system that includes curriculum, best practices in terms of instructional strategies, and it is research-based, so it is a tried and true program. AVID provides a direct support for students academically, so in other words, students are in an AVID elective class. At present, we have 93 students district-wide enrolled in AVID. We have both freshmen and sophomore students enrolled in AVID, and the supports that those students receive come in a variety of different ways. The goal, of course, is to close the achievement gap so that those students can be successful not just entering the university, but throughout and obviously graduating with a college degree. So with that, I will turn it over to Brittany Mitchell.
Good evening. We have a set profile of the AVID student, but I would like to preface this by saying that we don't have a prototype student that meets all of the criteria. We have a vast array of criteria that are met, and we serve our students on an individual need basis. So if you would look at the list, we start off getting students that have average to high test scores, and that varies based on the information our feeder schools are able to provide us. They usually range from a 2.0 to 3.5 GPA, so they're definitely academically capable. Oftentimes they're not maximizing their academic potential, so they've never taken an advanced place course, they've never considered it for whatever reason, and we push them to do that. We also look for college potential with support. So that being said, it's just revisiting that academically ready and capable piece and pushing them to build essentially their high school resume. So that way college is in fact a viable option after 4 years. Oftentimes we are working on the determination piece, but our kids come in, they know they want to go to college, they often don't know how to get there. So that's where Avid steps in and gets them acclimated to their new placement, and it takes them through the application process. We just took them on a college visit. We have lots of people come in and talk, recent alums, so they get that hands-on experience with what college does entail. Quite a few of my students, I moved up with my Avid students to the sophomore class now. Many of them will be the first kids to attend college in their families. So I have several students whose parents didn't even finish high school, a lot of students whose parents are from out of the country. So with all of these different circumstances considered, there's a lot of pressure on them in order to make this happen. There's a lot of pride at stake for the family if in fact they don't follow through with these dreams of a collegiate experience. This next criteria is not exclusionary. I do have a much more diverse class this year, so the traditionally underserved minority populations, or as I stated before, I have a lot of students who are first-generation English speakers or first-generation students of the American traditional school system. I would say of this list, most of my students do fit into the low-income category. So college has been viewed as something that may not be as possible because they've been told, well, we don't have money to pay for college. You're going to have to help your dad with work as soon as you get out. So those rigorous and upper-level courses have not been accessed because in the back of their minds they're thinking, well, mom said I can't really go to college. We can't really swing it. And if mom and dad don't have the know-how, then, you know, it's on us to teach them how to make it, in fact, possible. Come on up, Jenny.
Good evening. I'm Jennifer Wolf from Downers Grove South. I am Brittany's counterpart, so I moved up with my 9th grade Avid class and am now teaching Avid 10. This is the typical Avid week. So on Monday and Wednesday, we have Avid curriculum, which we follow pretty closely. It's a variety of different activities, including Cornell Notes, how to speak to a teacher, what does it mean to be responsible, how to write introductions for essays, all of the things you would typically see in an academic class. Tuesdays and Thursdays are really the highlight of the Avid program for any of the teachers who would teach the course. I think they would all agree with that. Those are our tutorials. So the tutorials are when our kids come together in small group, they all bring their own points of confusion, and then they work together in Socratic seminar with an adult tutor who guides them and helps them with some questioning techniques. But the tutor doesn't actually tutor them in a specific manner, which you and I would have been familiar with, wherein the tutor sits down and says, okay, how do I help you with number 8? Let's walk through that together. This really is kids helping kids. They learn how to question, they learn how to present, they do a lot of public speaking, and they do really bond and become a family in terms of working through problems. So it's a very scripted program in terms of how to get them to this point in their academic career. But when they really begin to gel and see it come together, and we do have a video that you can watch very quickly in just a moment, it really is quite remarkable. So that really is the strength of the Avid program. And then on Fridays, we we say that it's Fun Friday. Sometimes it's catch up from everything else that's going on in the week. Sometimes it's guest speakers. We have kids going to career fairs if those are offered within the school. We do a lot of team building on Fridays, and our tutors will grade their Cornell notes on Fridays and their binders. They all have a very large binder in which they keep all of their classes. So it's a 3-inch binder, and they clean it out periodically, and it has to be very well organized. And so our tutors will help us organize all of that and grade it for the kids. So the curriculum itself involves writing, college and careers, strategies for success, and critical reading. All of these things are really strengthened throughout their academic day, and then we just nuance it and tweak it a little bit so that it's more applicable for those kids right then. In our tutorials, we really do call them collaborative study groups, and the kids are really beginning to buy into this because, as Brittany mentioned, they have gone on college visits, and it is one of the first things they ask. Do you have tutorials? Which the college kids don't really understand. So when they elaborate on that, they say, oh yeah, we just call those study groups. So the kids are getting very excited that what we're saying happens in college really does happen in college. They have writing groups, and then we have these Socratic seminars, which are also strengthened in their English classes, wherein they read technical articles from a variety of different sources, ask high-level questions to one another, and really debate ideas back and forth in a very organized manner. So it's very nice to see. So one of the strengths of the AVID program is the Cornell Notes, which is a very scripted, formalized way of taking notes. We make our kids take Cornell notes in all of their academic classes, and then those notes are graded on Fridays by our tutors. So there is a questioning section, there is a notes section with revisions and highlighting, and then we have a summary section. So we've oftentimes had our reading specialists come in and talk about summarizing, paraphrasing, organizing. So our kids are getting very good at taking Cornell notes. And then we have our tutorials. So before Sid clicks over to that, let me just preface what you're going to see. Our kids have a sheet called a TRF. The TRF is where they write down everything they know about whatever their problem is. So they work through that entire system, then they come up with the nuts and bolts of, okay, here's what I really don't understand. That's what is presented to the rest of their group, and that's what the rest of the group helps them try to better understand so that they can get an answer to their question. So you're gonna see one student explain what the TRF is, and then one student who is actually working through a tutorial with his group members.
What's your name? And what are you doing right now? And what is that? And what do you do when you do one of these? And what does the TRF involve? What do you have to do?
You have to think of, like, when you have a specific point of confusion, and from that point of confusion, you have to include all the information that you know about it and try to get more details about it so you can figure out how to solve the problem.
And then does someone answer your question during tutorials?
No, they don't solve it, they give you hints and try to help you to figure it out.
Thank you.
So then I would do 70 minus 31 to get my neutrons. Since, the atom mass is protons and the mass of neutrons.
What other things might you be able to fill in from your known information already? Like how the atomic number and the protons? How might you be able to use other information to be able to fill in the other spots, a few of the other spots too?
Well, number of protons is equal to the atomic number. So if it's giving me the number of protons, then I can assume that the atomic number would be the same.
And then the other one?
That would be 39 because I did mass number minus protons equal to neutrons.
And then the third one, what would? No. Yeah.
Okay, so for this one, if it's given me the atomic number, then the atomic number is the same as the proton, so I can assume that this would also be 35.
Okay, are there any questions?
Yes. It's an amazing
I've given you a
program.
lot of information, I know. Yes.
So first of all, just, of course, congratulations on a job well done, goes without saying. But what are the plans for following students in the long run to see how successful they are?
I actually can't wait for that opportunity because, we've received more so disposition feedback. I had some freshmen who vehemently rejected all of my theories and suggestions the first time because along with the freshman transition into high school, they're taking on these courses, they're volunteering to take our class, and so with that, they're also sacrificing the opportunity to take electives. So once they've accepted that and seen the value in those sacrifices, it's going to be even more beneficial for us to see where they go if in fact they stayed with their planning that we started last year, Jenny and I, with tracking their career interests and trying to gear those collegiate visit experiences and exposures towards what in fact they want to do. So ideally, and we've designated our AVID leaders, I would definitely like to form some type of alliance with them where they can come back and share those experiences with our freshmen because, I'm now tapping into kids that were here my first year, 5 years ago in the district, who are very open with the kids about, well, I had Miss Mitchell in English class and what she said was pretty true. It's very hard when you don't do your homework and you try to take a test on a novel. So that being said, I think it'll be very nice to have a student bank who's gone through 4 years of the AVID program to tell the freshmen, during their angst-ridden period, hey, we made it, we've been there with you, and this is where we're at now, and we're doing well because of it.
One of the things that I would add is that AVID is a very formal program. So we are required to submit data to AVID Central. So each year we submit the data, and the data is related to a number of different factors. So as Brittany and Jenny shared all those different characteristics that we spoke about. Well, when we have seniors, of course, we only have freshmen and sophomore students, AVID students right now, that data will be submitted. So we'll be able to see what schools our students, AVID students matriculate to. And so there'll be longitudinal data, much of which we have to enter into an actual program that AVID Central monitors. So it's very data-driven.
Which is something that I think you liked about this from the start.
And there's a number, as Jenny and Brittany said, it's not just about those students that are in AVID. Really, the goal of AVID is to be school-wide. So those research-based strategies to be used throughout the buildings. In fact, Jenny and Brittany provided some professional development to our teachers on the Cornell note-taking system.
Well, this was a great presentation. I feel like I have, a better understanding of AVID now than I've ever had before. Not that I didn't have a very good one before, but I really don't have any questions. Just congratulations and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I did have one. Where did it start? Where did
California.
Okay.
San Diego.
The new ideas come from California. Okay, got it. And how old is it? How long has it been in
70s?
in existence?
I think, I think it's early
Early 80s? Really?
When San Diego began to redistrict.
Ah, so it's well established. Well, thank you. That's interesting. Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Great
you.
program. Great
So we
dedication,
have one
right?
thank you, lady. So we have one recommendation for action.
Yes.
Do we have a motion?
I move to accept the report of the board appointed hearing officer in the matter of student 616855 and expel student 616855 for the remainder of the 2014-15 school year and the summer session of 2015, regretfully.
Thank you, Mike.
Second.
And Terry has a second.
Mike Davenport,
Aye.
Terry Pavasich,
Aye.
Rick Pavanato,
Aye.
Julia Beckman,
Aye.
Deb Boyle,
Aye.
and Nancy Kupka.
Aye. Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Now is the opportunity for our reception of visitors. This is the opportunity for audience members to address the board on any topic pertaining to Community High School District
Come on over
99.
here.
May I speak?
Sure, come on up.
I'm not sure because of her number, but I'm assuming that's my daughter.
I'm Joseph Scamacci. I'm assuming the student's number you read is Gianna Marie Scamacci. Obviously, I'm not here to argue it. You've already made your decision. I'm not a professional speaker, so please excuse me for any nervousness or misthing, but I find this, I really find it totally wrong, basically because the very final reason we're here right now of her being expelled is because of the assumption of the dean or whoever the authorities were of saying she actively knew alcohol was in a Gatorade bottle that she drank. If you don't mind, I'm going to go back to my notes here a little bit, and I know we're not here to argue this because you already made your decision, but I do have to speak, of course. The dean in the school facility did not prove the reason for her expulsion right there. This was the final decision here. The student who brought in the alcohol and was selling it confessed to us that Gianna did not know alcohol was in a Gatorade bottle. Of course, he got in his own trouble, and none of my business, so it might be down the road, but it's not now. Got in his own trouble for bringing it in, selling it, doing what he did, but he confessed that he did not know, or he did not tell her Gatorade was in the bottle. Also, he did not tell the dean or any others, according to what the meeting I went to a couple of weeks ago at the other building, when they read all their statements. He did not, of course, his father did not allow him to talk, so he didn't even tell the dean or anybody that Gianna knew. He didn't say she didn't know, but he didn't say she knew. But he told us she didn't know. Therefore, this final decision here, you're expelling her for their assumption that she knew alcohol was in a Gatorade bottle that she took a few gulps from. Even the test that she was forced to take, when she said, I did drink from the Gatorade bottle, a couple gulps, was 0.012, which is proof that there was only a couple of gulps, as it is less than half a drink. According to the research I did, thank you, Google. Most of the other meaningless list of things they had on the list they read off to me, which a good portion of them we were even unaware of, we meaning my wife and I, were totally unaware of some of these things other than dress code violations, which tons of students get. And use of profanity here and there, which is sadly my Italian heritage. Most of the minor offenses, such as the dress code and things like that, I said, were told to us was exaggerated. And even to this day, when I had to call in Monday, that I'm getting emails that she's missing classes because the lack of communication within the school, that was suspended or expelled, that they're listing those as missing school. She's never missed a day of school without a reason. She was either in study halls and things like that. We had to go back to the school to have them correct that. And again, I point out Monday, when I received my emails, I got back in town, I travel a lot, and I said, why are we getting that she's missing classes? She's suspended until their meeting of whether she's expelled or not. So my wife had to call in, and they said, we'll take care of it, again, because this is the second or third time. The couple more serious offenses that were on that list that they presented, as well as I presented a counter, were all proved false. From the bullying, which were her being bullied and her just standing up for herself, again, sadly my Italian heritage of sticking up for yourself and not being bullied, and she did it wrongly, but it was still her being bullied, and even the dean and principal admitted, when the children admitted they were bullying her, she just handled it wrong. She is not bringing drugs into the school or alcohol. She's not selling drugs or school into alcohol. She's not the problem child. She's not doing things to harm children or adults. She was simply caught up in making some wrong choices of her own, being a teen, of course, and minor offenses. Those all combined, even though a lot of them were falsely accused, and again, I don't know how deep you folks got into that one incident where she was bullied on the bus, and it wasn't originally her being bullied, it was originally claimed that she was doing something, and when the dean pulled the children in that were a part of it, they admitted she was bullying her. They egged her on, they pushed her, and she simply stood up for herself. And might I point out, as you all aware of, my daughter is not going to be a statistic of killing herself or doing something because she's bullied. She's taught, as well as my 3 young foster children are taught, to stand up for themselves. She did it. She did it wrong. Should have gone for help. Should have gone to a principal. Should have gone to the teacher. She stood up for herself. You people are expelling her for making some bad choices, wrong, rightfully so, on that end, making some sad choices. But you're expelling her for standing up for herself. You're expelling her for the assumption that she knew alcohol was in there, intended to get drunk or buzzed at school when she was doing well this year. Yes, she made other things before, and that's why she went to that class 99. And again, that was all in the proof of the papers of what happened and why she had to go through that. But again, I reiterate, she's not bringing drugs into school, selling drugs, getting kids in problems, bullying children or anything. She's just making some bad choices and being bullied herself. To me, this is totally wrong, to expel her when this year she finally was doing well in school again. After the Project 99, she was doing well. She enjoyed school. She was motivated in the right direction. And once again, I'll say the lack of communication in the school, all of a sudden she had decent grades for this year up until this problem. And then by mistake, as they admitted, she was locked out of her computer. So immediately her grades went down just within this suspension time. Her grades immediately took a dive because she was locked out of her computer. And they didn't do it intentionally, but there was a problem. We had to bring the computer into school. They had to boot it back up, do something. Then she was catching up on her work again. You're expelling her for making some teen minor mistakes. She's not a problem child. She's not your major problem in this school. And we all know there's other big problems in the school. And I listed those in those papers too, I compared of things I knew other children got in trouble for compared to what my daughter did. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. She's being expelled and changing her academic outlook compared to other children that did major things that would get them in jail completely. And they didn't get the punishment she did. I know you didn't plan on hearing an argument, so I will end it at that. Obviously, we'll wait to be contacted by the school and find out what other academic, where she could pick up and go back to school now or what she can do, which is only causing aggravation at our home and what we do and other busy, like I said, 3 young foster kids and everything else. And now this is just, and you put a big dent into Gianna's drive to like school again. But I did obtain counsel, and I didn't want to take it further. I do want to take it further because legal action, of course, because, like I said, I feel this is wrong. This is wrong. It went over the board here. I feel she's being bullied by the school itself or set an example of, not intentionally maybe being bullied. I certainly don't want to point anything like that. I don't mean that. And I step back a little bit by saying, I'm sorry I'm the only negative thing at your board meeting when everything else looks so fantastic and positive. I apologize for that, but it's just a father standing up for his daughter at this point. So I do plan on counseling with my lawyer and find out if we should go further with this, pulling in the child and the percentages and all this thing, and see if we can weigh this out a little different, as I'll sit back and wait find out what other schooling we can get for my daughter. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else who would like to address the board? Hearing none.
I move we adjourn.
We have a motion for adjournment. Terry
Second.
moves. Mike seconds. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.